Good morning, students. Today we are going to start with a new poem, a new chapter that is prescribed for our studies, The Lotos Eaters by Alfred Tennyson. Before discussing the text of this long poem, let us know about the poet as well as about the poem. Alfred Lord Tennyson. He was born in the year 1809. He was a poet laureate of Great Britain and Ireland during Queen Victoria's reign. He was a poet laureate during the realm of Queen Victoria, whereas the Great Britain is concerned as well as Ireland is concerned. He received his university education from Cambridge, whereas university education is concerned. He completed his education from the University of Cambridge. He is considered to be a representative Victorian poet, as his poems reflect the different intellectual currents prevalent at that time. Alfred Lord Tennyson is considered as a true representative of Victorian era. The reason is that his compositions, his poems, they reflect all the features, all the qualities, all the things which were quite common, quite prevalent at that time. His poetry is remarkable for its musical and pictorial quality. Whereas the compositions of Alfred Tennyson are concerned, they are notable for musical quality as well as pictorial qualities. Worldly pictures are drawn in the composition of Alfred Tennyson. Even in his early poems, we can note his extraordinary eye for beauty. Even whereas the early career of Alfred Tennyson is concerned, early composition are concerned, we can also find that from the very beginning, he was very keen for the beauty. Like a true artist, he creates picture with his use of words. As a painter, he paints pictures as an artist. In the likewise manner, as a true artist, Alfred Lord Tennyson, he draw pictures by using words. He is noted for his perfection of style, majesty, mastery of language, and his command of meter. He is also quite remarkable for, he is also noted for, he was perfect in his writing style, he was having complete command on the language and complete command on the use of meter in composing poems. He continuously experimented with the meter and handled the English meters with great skill. Constantly, he kept on doing practicals with the meter, use of meter, and he perfectly used the English meter in his compositions. Tennyson was also an expert in vividly portraying the external aspects of the persons and works of art. This was another feature of Alfred Tennyson, that he was also an expert in picturing, in portraying the external aspects of the person as well as the works of art. His scientific knowledge and keen observation lent to his enriched description of nature. He was having enough knowledge of science as well, and his scientific knowledge, and as a keen observer, these two things provided him or his compositions another qualities, that he was perfect in describing nature. He is renowned for the long elegy he wrote on the death of Arthur Hallam in memoriam, which published in 1815. Arthur Hallam was his friend, and after the death of the friend, he wrote a sad poem, an elegy, a renowned elegy, whereas entire English literature is concerned, in memoriam. And for the revival of the stories of King Arthur and King Knights in Idylls of the Kings, which published in 1859. His other well-known works are Enoch Arden, The Princes, Maud, Ulysses, and Tithonus. Now, let us know something about the central idea of the poem, The Lotos Eaters. The Lotos Eaters by Alfred Tennyson. It was published in 1832 in Tennyson's collection of poems. This poem belongs to Tennyson's early phase of his career. The poem belongs to the early phase of his career as a poet. The theme of the poem is based on Homer's Odyssey, Book 9. The idea, the concept, the theme of the poem, it has been taken from the epic composed by the Greek poet Homer, entitled Odyssey, and it has been taken from the 9th book of Odyssey, where after Troy had been seized, Odysseus and his companions land in Africa on the island of Lotos. In Odyssey, Book 9, after the siege of Troy, after the destruction of Troy, Odysseus, the warrior, named Ulysses in this poem, and his companions, co-warriors, they rested in Africa, on the island of Lotos. They rested there on an island which was the island of Lotos Eaters. The inhabitants of the island gave them the fruit of lotus. As they stopped there, as they rested there, the dwellers of this island, the inhabitants of this island, they offered them the fruit of lotus. After the consumption of which, after eating the fruit of lotus, Odysseus and his companions feel lethargic and concomitantly become inactive. As they ate the fruit of lotus, even the Ulysses as well as his companions, they became lazy, they became lethargic, and they became inactive. They forget their homes and wish to remain where they are. They were returning to their home. But after eating the fruit of lotus, they forgot about their native places and they desired to stay there, remain there forever. The spirit of lethargy in this poem is striking in contrast with the spirit of travel and adventure in the companion poem Ulysses. The spirit of lethargy, dullness, laziness is in contrast with the spirit of travel and adventure, whereas the poem Ulysses by Alfred Tennyson is concerned. The poem is loaded with pre-Raphaelitic references also. The first section of the poem consists of 5 Spenserian stanzas. Whereas the poem is concerned, the first 5 stanzas of the poem, they are Spenserian stanzas. Spenserian stanza, a stanza of 9 lines each. The poem opens with the scenic description of the landscape. The poem opens with the scenery or the description of that island, that landscape. Afternoon, the languid streams, the waterfalls, the snow-covered mountains, and the valleys. Almost every description of the landscape is there in these 5 stanzas. Poet talks about the atmosphere of the landscape. He talks about the streams which are dull one, slow one, lazy one, the waterfalls, the mountains which are covered with the snow, and the valleys. It also describes the sunset and the monotonous melancholic atmosphere. Whereas this section is concerned, it also describes the scene of the sunset as well as a sad atmosphere, dull atmosphere of the landscape. The dreaminess of the landscape is in close harmony with the dreamy mood of the sailors as they consume the lotus fruits. The atmosphere and the condition of the sailors, condition of the companions of Ulysses harmonize because the atmosphere is languid as well as the condition of the sailors. It is also lazy one, dull one, lethargic one. They are in a dreamy mood as they consumed the lotus fruit. The second section of the poem, which is in the form of a choric song, consists of stanzas of different lengths and explicate various moods of Odysseus and companions. The second half of the poem, having a number of stanzas which differ in length, and here is the description of the different mood, step by step different mood of the companion of Ulysses. The sailors sing together, giving a series of arguments in favor of a life of inaction. All the companions, they sing together and they provide number of examples, number of arguments in favor of an inactive life, life which is without action. They want to be there, they want to remain there, they want to take rest there, and just to emphasize this, they provide a series of arguments. They express reluctance to travel. They express that they are not interested to go further or to travel further. They also express a feeling of surrender to the surrounding language. They also express their feeling that they are going to surrender themselves to this atmosphere. A feeling of forgetfulness of their responsibilities and an intense desire to adopt an indifference to everything in godly manner. That's all about today's lecture. Thank you very much.